at Magento. Now you can hear me. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. I can't see your hands because there's a really bright light right there, but we're going to do this anyway. So who here is already involved in the Magento community? Awesome. So probably like a third of you from what I can tell. So actually, I went to a session at PHP World last year, and Anthony Farah shared that just by showing up and being here, you actually are a part of the community. So just so you know, it's not this impossible thing to be a part of, and you already are. So for me, I got involved in the Magento community back in 2007, mostly because I was trying to figure out what I was doing. So I became very active on the forums. And as those who were smarter than I helped me with my questions, I started to help others who were newer so that the really smart people could keep teaching me. And as a result, made a lot of friends and had a lot of opportunities open up. And now I work at Magento. So this is a picture with a bunch of people you probably recognize from Meet Magento New York 2014. Yes. You're much quicker than I am with memory there. So anyway, it's a great group of people. I'm sure you know most of them, and we've had a lot of fun times together, so I wanted to share that. It just occurred to me I have some slides in here I forgot I had in here, but there's a few updates that haven't been really touched on yet that are recent company updates, so I'll share them with you since they're here. So we have a new website. This is what it looks like. The whole goal of this website is to make it easier for you to use it. If you find that's not the case, please email me and let me know so we can help improve that experience for you. We've also had a lot of announcements lately. Roy Rubin, if you remember him, the original founder of Magento, is back. He's now on our board of directors. We partnered with Adobe to transform commerce experiences. And we also acquired RJ Metrics, which is now Magento Analytics, and released a holiday dashboard through them. So you can always find the latest in our press room, which is all this is a screenshot of. I just wanted to hit on those briefly. And then there's also been new releases for both Magento 1X and Magento 2 in the last week or so. And there's new updates on that as well. So 1.9.3.1 is coming soon. So keep an eye out for that if you're on Magento 1 and needing to get onto a 5.6 stable version with a lot of recent functional updates and security fixes. So I often get asked, how do I get involved in the Magento community? I think it's this unattainable thing that some people have in mind because they're not really sure like where to break in. I do want to encourage you that the people you're used to seeing who are really active are really friendly and they want you to be involved too. So don't be intimidated and just come say hi. To give you a quick overview of what the community can do together, because I think it's super powerful. In 2015, since 2016 is not over and I don't want to short you on the numbers, the community created over 2,500 pull requests and issues for Magento 2 on GitHub, presented over 500 talks on Magento or at Magento-centric events like this one, produced over 130 podcast episodes centered around Magento. Disclaimer, most of those are Mage Talk, but not all. They organized and produced conferences and meetup groups in over 20 countries, wrote at least 3 books about Magento, contributed to official product documentation, wrote countless blog posts to raise awareness and education of our platform, and answered thousands of questions, possibly more, on both Stack Exchange and the forums. So what I'm saying here is basically, you're the best. So thank you. I want to, before I jump into where you can get involved in the community, because there are several ways, and I think you'll find at least one that's a good fit for where you are, what you know, what you do. But before that, I just want to give you a little bit of community mindset. So community is not an individual thing by nature, right? It's not about you and it's not about me, it's about we collectively. John Woodall from Space 48, who founded Mage Titans, says this my favorite way, which is that community is about connecting, communicating, and collaborating. And I think the Magento community is really great at all three of these for various reasons that you'll see as we go through. One note on this is thought leadership is a really important mindset to have versus self-promotion. I know thought leadership is a bit of a marketing buzzword right now, but I liked it before then, so I'm a little hipster about it. But basically, if someone comes up to you and just talks to you incessantly about themselves, all you want to do is walk away because it's super annoying, right? So self-promotion is the same thing. Whereas with thought leadership, it actually is where you tap into the talent, experience, and passion inside your business and provide the best answers to your customers' biggest questions. So to TLDR that, really, you need to look at what is your field of expertise. And I've seen this done really well by several members of the community. So to give you some examples, because for me, I learn better through examples. I don't know about you guys, but Shipper HQ. If you go to their site, there's all kinds of information on their blog about shipping information. Not even necessarily directly related to their product, but they know that their customers are very dependent on shipping, and therefore they need to know the latest. One of my favorite examples to go alongside with this is actually at the Mage Titans event in Austin, Texas. I don't know when this was now, like 6 weeks ago? I have no idea. So we were hanging out with Karen either before the event or after the event, and she was sitting there totally zoned in on her phone, and what happened was she had Slack notifications set up for shipping carriers. So whenever they had an error or things were going wrong, she knew about it right away before they'd even put out messaging. So what she did as soon as she found that out was she tweeted out to let her customers know, hey, there's a problem with this carrier. You're going to want to make sure your backup carrier is in place. So when you go to their site, they never have to tell you, hey, like, we understand shipping, because it's just very clear from reading their blog and from following them on Twitter that, yes, they're experts in that field and they know what they're talking about. The same is true with TaxJar. If you look at their site, it's full of more than you could ever want to know about sales tax information. In fact, it was interesting, I thought anyway, at Magento New York, even an example of this was mind blank Ryan. Don't tell him I forgot his name. I hope he never sees this. Ryan shared with us that in New York, a bagel, when it's unsliced, is not taxable, but when it's sliced, it's taxable in New York because of the interaction involved in that and the human element there. So these guys share information like that all the time on their blog, and it's just very clear when you go there that they do know what's going on in the tax world and that they understand it. Taking you from more of a service provider, extension provider, to a solution company, Nina was up here earlier. Inchu, I think, is a fantastic example of this. Who here has ever read a post on the Inchu blog? Show of hands. Yeah, quite a few people in here. I think it's about as well known as Alan Storm's blog, who he referred to earlier. I know when I first got started in Magento, referenced the Inchu blog quite a bit back in the day. And it's been fun to see it still exists through several iterations. So if you go to Inchu's site, you never have to wonder if they do understand Magento, because it's very obvious on their blog. Their whole team is involved there, actively sharing information to help the community better understand Magento. And the same is true with AtWix as well. AtWix has constant information on here as well on how to work in Magento and develop in Magento and different things that are involved around that. Much like Inchu, they're a great place to go for that information. And when you go to their site, it's clear that they do understand Magento, so they never have to outright tell you that. From an independent example, Alan Storm, right? Like, there's no question that he understands Magento. It's very clear, and pretty much anyone, in fact, I would be surprised if no one who's ever worked with Magento has never referenced an Alan Storm article or read something that he's written. So when you find out that he has tools to help Magento developers, you don't have to wonder if he understands and has built that correctly, because it's very clear that he knows what's going on. So that's my, my short little part on thought leadership. I don't want to take too long on that section, but hopefully that gives you some ideas of how to interact in the community without jumping to sales pitches. Although if you're a developer, you probably don't go to the sales pitch area anyway. As my colleague just demonstrated, we tend to not really know the sales pitches. So, So that brings us to where you can get involved, and there's a few places. The URLs are on some of these slides and not on some of these slides, but I will post them. So if there's anything interesting to you, don't worry about like getting the URL correct or anything like that. You can get it from them later. So the first one I want to share is the Magento forums, partially because I'm a little partial to them since they're how I got started in Magento, as well as how I ended up with this job because we relaunched them and needed someone to manage them. So these are our new forums. Actually, they're going to be updated to a responsive look and feel in the somewhat nearish future. So they're a great place to go for latest information from us, targeted at developers specifically. So you'll always see our marketing releases on our blog and whatnot, but smaller releases or patch updates will probably be here rather than on the main blog. And those fall under news and announcements, which you can actually subscribe to. But that being said, there's a lot of people here that are looking for answers. So whether you're looking for an answer or you're looking to demonstrate your expertise or give back to the community by helping, it's a really great place to be. So for example, Gabriel Guarino, who actually today just got promoted to moderator on the forums. He's part of the community in Argentina, 4-time certified, great guy, super helpful. And he oftentimes replies with very thorough tutorials, or even in this case, does a video tutorial explaining how to do what someone's looking to do. And it's just a really great way of demonstrating his expertise. Another way to get involved on the forums is through our feature requests and improvements board. So about a month ago, 2 months ago, I've literally lost all track of time if you can't tell. We kicked off some efforts around developer experience that hopefully you'll hear more on soon. I believe we're sharing more in the next couple weeks here. But part of that move was to take the feature requests and improvements off of GitHub and move them to the forums in a structure designed to upvote them, categorize them, assign statuses, etc. And the reason that we did this, which I don't think was totally clear to everyone, is that we have an engineering team and we have a product management team. And our engineering team is focused on bug burn down and issues and things of that nature, pull requests, whereas our product management team is focused more on looking at those feature requests and those improvements and categorizing them, assessing them, and also prioritizing them. So this way they can focus on them in their space and make sure that they're finding out what people are really interested in and where that falls in and how it can be implemented into our product, while the engineering team can focus on making Magento 2 a really great, stable place for you guys. So that's why those moved. A lot of people in this room are probably also involved in Stack Exchange. Raise your hand if you're active on Stack Exchange. Yep, cool. So Stack Exchange, Ben Marks, actually our developer evangelist, kicked off making this happen before he was at Magento. And it's a great place also. It's very technical and full of good information. I know recently Raphael from Digital Pianism started. Did he start? No, actually he didn't start, sorry. Maybe Fabian Spengler started a thread here. I think Raphael was the one to really promote it, but on issues that came up with the most recent release. And so it was a great way for people to go to one canonical source and find things. So if they ran into a similar bug, someone else already had the solution. And it's a great source for things like that. We also have translations. So our translation product takes place on Crowdin. We have Magento 1 and Magento 2 there. If you want to get involved, you can go there and request to be a contributor. It will go through, get approved. If there's a language that you want to translate that you don't see there, just message where it says contact Magento Translations. That actually comes through to me and a couple other people, and we can get it set up pretty quickly for you. We are also on GitHub, obviously, as many of you know. With Magento 2, we moved to GitHub to create more of an environment where you can actually contribute to the core in a simple way. And it's been an overwhelmingly great response. There's a lot of people who have contributed. There's a lot more who can, I believe. But I wanted to highlight a few of the contributions more recent that have happened there. So this one is from, Dennis with static deploy flags, and so he's got this one there, and you can see even in the release notes we've mentioned his pull request and credited him there for that. There's also one from Anna. I was talking to Anna about this one actually, and she was like, well, it's not really that big of a deal. It's a pretty minor fix. But someone brought up at the unconference, and I wish I could remember who it was so I could credit them, but I can't. Maybe someone here does who was also there. But a really good way to get involved is to do a simple fix, right? So someone suggested that you go through the code and find like a typo and submit a pull request for that. The reason being, which our product team might hate me for suggesting this to you because they're going to get more pull requests than they know what to do with. But the reason being is that then you know basically if it's a process with the pull request or if it's the issue itself, because you don't have code in question there, and it's a very simple thing. So it helps you get started in contributing and encourages you to contribute more. There's another one to do some inheritance with the config settings from Marius. And also one from Ty to implement the missing get media base directory function that was referenced but not actually there. I found out last week, 2 weeks ago, that a lot of people don't know we actually have documentation on how to contribute. So if you go to DevDocs, you can go to contributor there in the main navigation, and there's all kinds of information there on contributing to Magento 2 code, the requirements, creating a pull request, reporting an issue, and even an explanation of what the different labels mean. So I would encourage you to go check that out. There's also a lot of community projects that you can contribute to. So Christian Munch with the Nets98 Major Run is a great extension. I know a lot of people have joined in here. In fact, you can see there's 82 contributors here, and it's a very well used tool by developers, which I don't have to tell you guys. And then, of course, Bartek was talking earlier about the Magento 2 theme, taking less to Sass, as well as the front tools, and this is definitely encouraged. So when we were first working on Magento 2, we had to make a call, less or Sass. We chose less. You guys want Sass. That's cool. Times change. And so Bartek is leading the way here, getting this together, which we shared in Alan Kent's blog. We're totally behind, and we're hoping that that is a good solution for people. So. And then also Ian Cassidy shared they had a Magento 1 configurator, and I'm not sure if you're familiar, but now they have a Magento 2 configurator. So he's looking for people to get involved and contribute there. Documentation. Our documentation team is very, very eager to have you contribute pull requests and help, and they love giving credit for that too. So actually our page on how to contribute to DevDocs was contributed by a contributor, so it's pretty meta. But so this is a good place to start if you're wondering how to get involved in DevDocs. But very much we value your expertise as people who are out there using the product every day. This contributor guide was contributed by Stefan from Vimo. He actually participated in the first Magento Docathon and continues to contribute throughout the documentation. Vinay Kopp is also a constant supporter of DevDocs. Everything from giving early feedback on the new UI component guide to contributing entirely to major topics on testing, including this one, running unit tests, and also one on running integration tests. And he's also had many other contributions to existing topics. So we're really grateful for that. And then the classy llamas, or as Tana from our DevDocs team likes to call them, the very classy llamas, they actually contribute quite a bit. Their whole herd of llamas is often referred to just as classy llama on our documentation. So I was able to get some names out of her. So it's Eric Hansen, who is an advisor, supporter, and pusher for us. Jonathan Hodges, who submitted great ideas for DevDocs, and really David Alger is our fearless moderator when GitHub issues get deeply technical, and several other llamas have consistently been there for us as well. So this is one example of the documentation that they've contributed. And then there's a lot of other individuals that submit pull requests with better code samples, corrected paths and file names, and other countless helpful edits and additions. So these guys are some of the foremost active contributors, Raphael, Peter, Matthias, and Tony. And you've probably heard, maybe you haven't, there was a lot of feedback around UI components. Again, I have no sense of time anymore. It looks like this was published in August, though, so it was a few months ago now. And it really encouraged Tana to jump on a plane from Texas to Kiev, round up the developers who actually work on UI components, sit them down in a room, and do an entire sprint just based on documentation. So this is the story of that. If you're interested, you can go to Ben's blog, actually, and read that. It's got some pictures, so you know who the guilty devs are, as well as just get a little bit of feedback or insight, I guess, into the process of what it takes to create documentation. Who here has spoke at an event? A few. Who has attended an event? Trick question. If you're in this room, you've attended an event. So there are events and speaking opportunities like crazy all over this community. If you don't believe me, ask Ben how many days he's home a year. So Magento organizes several hackathons throughout the year. Their site usually lists those. We also help support meetups around the world. I don't know why I started that as we also, because I really can't take credit for that. It's been great thanks to the organizers who have been doing so since almost the beginning of Magento's life. I think Christoph from Fumin in Auckland actually did the first Magento meetup, which was in 2009. And we have like over 51 listed on the central location now. So you can go to meetup.com/pro/Magento and find out like which one is nearest you. If you are already organizing a meetup or interested in organizing a meetup, we also have now an organizer's kit with approved logos and tips from other organizers, as well as a group on the forums where organizers can get together and share ideas and figure out how to improve meetups together. Meet Magento Association puts on events like this with local partners such as Interactive 4. They're a really great way to get connected with people near you as well on a little bit of a larger scale from meetups. The Space 48 team is the organizers of Mage Titans. They sometimes work with local companies as well. So they worked with BitBull to do one in Milan in February, with Shipper HQ in Austin in September. They started in Manchester, and there's one coming up in Manchester again next month, early next month, which is only like a week away, I guess, at this point. And actually, they just announced they're working with Brent Peterson to do the first ever Mage Titans in Mexico in February. So I really need to update this image. Our CFP is actually closed, but our tickets are not. And Imagine has always had a special place in my heart because the first Imagine is where I met people in person, face-to-face from the Magento community for the first time. So I think last year we had something like 2,300 attendees, and that's in Vegas, so if you're bored, that's probably on you. It's a great place to connect with people from all over the world. We also have Magento Live Australia coming up, which is actually where we launched Magento 2 last year, and I'm headed there in a week or so. And if you go to our site, we always have a listing of industry events, our events, Meet Magento events, and others from partners who bring them to us to report. Also, if you're looking for other opportunities to speak about development, especially in the PHP world, maybe even outside of Magento, Cal Evans does the CFP report And it's a great place to either submit your conferences or look for places to talk. Also, if you're new to talking, I recommend this book. Karen Baker actually recommended it to me, but it's from the head of TED, Chris Anderson, and he uses several examples from past TED Talks in a great storytelling format to teach you different ways of public speaking, as well as like what works and what doesn't work and key components. Don't hold this talk against it, but I highly recommend it. And then just get creative. There's a lot of people involved in the community in various ways that don't fall under any category, really, or they could, but that would take extra slides for no reason. So Mage Talk, as I already mentioned, is a great podcast by Philip Jackson and Kaylin Jordan. They just did episode 100 with Mark Lavelle not that long ago, and I think last week they published one with Roy Rubin and Yoav Kutner, the founders of Magento, and I think just yesterday or today, I'm not sure, there was a new one with Ben that I heard is really long, but good, so you should go check that out. V&I Cop started a series called Mage 2 Katas to help you grasp the concepts of testing in Magento, and that's also a great source of information. They are actually, you can't tell from here, but they're videos. It's kind of great to follow him throughout his adventures because they're never from the same place. Rebecca Troth has a YouTube channel, if you're not familiar, where she jumps into how to get involved in the Magento community in different areas, explaining them a bit more in depth, as well as she just started a series on, I think it's called How to Install Magento 2 from My Bedroom. But technically, the video takes place outside as well, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But she's always really entertaining and has a lot of great stuff to say and keeps up with the community. And then Damian Colada in Argentina actually runs a blog where he gives his input on Magento events, specifically in Spanish, to help keep the Spanish community up to date. So if that's of interest to you, it's a great place to go check out and keep up with his pulse there. The Magento 2 cookbook by Ray Bogman and Vladimir Kirchhoff. They launched it at Imagine, I believe. Yes, pre-party, yeah. And it's a great source of information if you're getting started in Magento 2 and you need some tips on where to go and coding examples. Great to look at. There's a few other books that have come out recently in the past year on Magento 2 as well. I don't have them here, but they're out there. And Twitter. The community often gathers on the hashtag #RealMagento. If you jump in there, remember my conversation earlier about thought leadership, because if you do sales there rather than conversation, prepare for someone to tell you that that's not the place to do so, because the hashtag was created because Magento, the Magento hashtag got a little overloaded with promotion and sales, so we like to keep this one conversation-based. I want to give a quick shout out to the Magento Masters. So last year, I spent quite a bit of time creating a program for our top contributors to really thank them and recognize them. And we went with 20, partially the numbers based on we wanted to do a large enough sample that we could represent various areas, but a small enough sample to where we could really interact with them in a meaningful way, where we could have calls to get their feedback on things and that nature. So these guys are the Magento Masters for 2016 based on their contributions in 2015. And in a few months, we'll see who the 2017 Masters are based on their contributions this year. And yeah, looking forward to that. I probably should start sharing a new quote because this one is from February, but I love it. So at Magento Live France, Mark Lavelle shared, "We are here because of the community that lives and breathes and works with Magento." And I truly believe that, and I'm really grateful to have a leadership team that believes that at their core, and it's very obvious whenever I need to talk to them about something community related. They're very, very much on board to help the community help us move forward. So with that, gracias. This is where you can find me and the link to the forums. I know we're running short on time, so if you have questions about how to get involved in the community, you can either reach out there or you can come find me at the after party. I'll be around. So thank you.